What's up, guys? On today's podcast, I have the best friend I've ever made at Vista Pub, Troy Strawhecker. What's up, Troy?
What's up, Grubb?
Thanks for coming, buddy.
You're welcome. Happy to be here.
Two quick things. I feel like this idea started to come to me, this whole podcast sort of situation, and it was many a night with you at Vista. Just chatting.
When you say Vista, tell me more what you mean.
There is a pub on Vista.
Right. Vista Pub.
Yeah.
I remember that. That was a fun discussion.
So is it kind of nice being a listener and
It is.
being there from the beginning and then a listener, and now here we are. We're chatting.
Yeah, congratulations, by the way. I think it's something that a lot of us like to listen to and or watch. It's funny, podcasts, I think most people listen for whatever reason. I find most people watching your podcast for whatever that's worth. You got a face for
radio,
TV, not just for radio. But yeah, it's fun to see it come full circle and to be here a couple of years later, and happy to be here.
Yeah. Are you a New Year's resolution guy? I was thinking about this earlier. You got a New Year's resolution?
I would say I've come and gone on it. My wife and I went through a process.
It's only the 10th, Troy.
I know.
You've come and gone on this year's resolution?
No, over the years of being one of those people. Thank you for the clarification. And one of my partners at Premiere yesterday mentioned that he had just blown up all of his already, and it was the 9th, so we were laughing. But by and large, I sometimes have been, sometimes haven't been. Tracy and I put together some things on a piece of paper that we wanted to do collectively for the year. That was a good exercise. So this year we do have some goals.
Nice. Anything we can put on the record and put out there and chat through?
Yeah, I think one of the things is for Tracy and I's relationship, we want to have more date nights where it's just kind of the two of us. We're pretty social, so we'll have a tendency, or maybe I'll drive, hey, let's see what the Grubbs are doing, or see what the Eklunds are doing, or whoever, and make it, if we're going to, it's almost like we'll get to golf at some point, but a lot of people don't spend enough time at the range. They just want to go play. And if we're going to have a night out, sometimes I just want to make it a night out with lots of people and family and friends. And sometimes we don't do enough of just the one-on-one. So i.e. the range time. So I think we're committed to doing a date night once a week or more. So that'll be good for this year. And you've seen her, you've met her. How could I go wrong with that?
Right. No doubt. What's fun about our friendship is we both have 3 kids. Mm-hmm. Your kids are, what would that be? 21 to 15? How tall?
Are the bouncers at bars at KU watching this? So our daughter Quincy's 20 years old. Our son George, we both have a George.
Yeah.
He's 18. And then our son Hale just turned 14 yesterday.
It's interesting because mine are obviously 3, 3, and 5 for our listeners, but it is fun to sort of talk about the dynamic. And even at that stage, that's a conversation in my house is you do get consumed in the kids, or you get consumed in work or your own activities. And really the one person that's probably the most fun to just spend time with and hang out with is sort of the one that gets neglected. And we've gotten better about it. Through the holidays, it's been a little bit tricky.
Yeah.
But tonight we're going to an event, just the 2 of us. And we've been pretty good at trying to do just a date night, or even during the holidays, we would get a babysitter, just go to dinner, do our Christmas shopping, and just get 3 hours of nothing.
Yeah,
right?
it's healthy.
Yeah.
It's good.
So it's positive.
Yeah, so that's one of our stated resolutions, is to do more of that.
Yeah, so one of mine, thanks for asking, is...
Wait, this isn't going to be just about me?
Just to be that guy that's like, hey, how's your day going? 3 seconds in. It's so anyways.
Yeah, so
my boss.
Yeah. So true.
So to make it about me, health. Do you do a sober January?
Yeah. Yep. Dry January.
Well, thanks for not bringing a drink with you.
Well, we brought up Vista Pub early. That, so in fairness, yeah.
Early.
But yeah, Dry January is something Tracy and I started maybe 7 years ago, and it's a good thing to do.
Yeah.
You're doing it?
I'm going a quarter.
Good for you.
I'm not going to say I'm trying. I'm going to go a quarter.
I like the language.
I need 90 days.
Yeah.
I want 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
I got to get in the gym.
Yeah.
I'm overweight. I'm fat. It's frustrating. Mm-hmm. But I'm grossly, I got to have a huge shift in my mentality. I started doing Orange Theory. My wife kind of got me into that.
Yeah.
It's hard.
It is hard. I did a trial there one night with my son, and that's where that ends. It was really good and really hard, and I never went back.
There's a lot of rowing, which no bueno. The running, not a runner.
Right.
Like obese guys aren't out there just,
Did they plant supermodels in your particular class?
No.
Because I'm pretty sure they did in ours.
Really?
Yeah, just to make us feel like you can get here someday.
What time are you going? I'm going to...
Yeah.
No, but I've started doing that. Have a Peloton. I want to get on a bike.
Right.
Yeah, for me, it's health. But I knew you did like a sober January every once in a while because you just sort of duck out on a friendship for 30 days.
Right. I think this is probably our 7th year. In full disclosure, we were away through the holidays, and I got back on the 4th, so I started mine that day, and then Tracy just got back this week, so it'll continue into February for that, so it's more of like a 30 days, but I think we made a conscious decision to have fun on Christmas break and then start hard.
So earlier today I was thinking, and you have friends that you've just been friends with forever, and then you have friends that sometimes you sort of have to stop yourself and be like, man, we've only been friends for 3 years?
Yeah, probably 3 or 4 years.
I mean, you're definitely somebody, I think we've talked about this, that it feels like we've been friends for a really, really long time. And another shout out to Vista Pub, but we met at Vista Pub, right?
Well, I think that's where we were properly introduced. We'd seen each other at a couple of different golf courses over time, and I'd met your dad a couple of times. And but yeah, that's when we first started. Hey, we know similar people, and I'm not quite sure where you're going with this, but it might be the depths of friendship sometimes are more important than the duration of them. And you gave me a call one time about you were going through some pretty heavy things with your twin daughters, and you had known that, or at least you'd heard that Tracy and I had gone through that with our youngest, who's now 14. And so I think when you have a conversation that's that deep and that important with about a family member, a loved one, when it comes down to health and possibly even somebody not making it through, those conversations get really deep really quickly. And so I think that solidified our relationship and brought it to a really deep level really early on. And I'm thankful for that. And I'm thankful that the girls are doing well and that you had a good outcome. And so did we. I mean, we almost lost this kid 14 years ago. And Tracy's water broke at 20 weeks and she was in the hospital for a few months and he had a brain hemorrhage. And we were pretty sure he's going to be special needs. Not that we would have had a problem with that. It just would have been a different normal for us. And you've met him, and we're just so lucky. So to be able to have that conversation with you about what you and Christineth were going through on your journey, I think it brought our friendship pretty tight pretty quickly. That's my version of the story.
Yeah.
I don't know if you...
I thought it was our love for Family Guy.
That's what helped with the cutaways for sure. Yeah, that was the language we used.
I do think we spoke in Family Guy quotes for probably the first 6 months of our friendship.
I think I could go a couple more years speaking Family Guy, but it's always good when you can kind of use pop culture in your conversations with friends.
Right. How many weeks? For some reason I feel like Hale had like an anniversary. You had posted something on Instagram or Facebook that I saw that basically just was saying, hey, in gratitude, we're really thankful for our time at blank. And I think it was right around what's Hale's birthday?
So yesterday he turned 14.
Yeah, that makes sense.
This might have been a little while ago, but we were at Mercy NICU. And
Mercy.
you know how it is. It's all about the nurses and the staff. And certainly we're thankful for our physicians and all that, but the frequency of contact with the everyday people in the ward or whatever, the ones you form the bond with that you're super thankful for.
Right.
So it might have been something about that. I mean, I think I may have had a photo of him where he literally fit in my hand, and now he's, he was on they called him a miracle baby, I guess, because we had a positive outcome. So Mercy did a pretty cool thing. I'm sure Blank does something similar where they had us tell his story in a paragraph form with a photo of him going through the situation, and then when he was a healthy baby afterwards, and they put these posters on the wall in the NICU for, worried moms and dads walking through to give them a little bit of hope. And so it might have been a reflection of that.
How many pounds was he when he was born?
He was probably the biggest kid in the NICU. He was just under 4 pounds.
Got it.
But it was the fact that he was a couple of months early and he had the brain hemorrhage.
Got it.
That made him stay there. But he only had to stay in the NICU for about a month. And there was a lot of miracle stories that come out of there. But unfortunately, there's still a lot of sad outcomes. And when you're walking through there, you can relate to this. You're walking past a lot of tears, a lot of wondering why to kind of get to your kid's little bay. And, I probably don't reflect on that enough. I mean, how lucky we are.
Right.
So
that was but that was a really powerful moment for me. I remember so for us, for many people, going to the NICU is their first sort of experience with adversity in the pregnancy, right? Like our water broke and now we're going to go to the hospital. You're going to deliver a baby, right?
Right.
And for us, it was at week 16. It's going to be a miracle to even get to the NICU. Don't even think about that yet. It'll be lucky if we even get to that point. If we do, that's best case scenario.
Goals change.
Right. So for us, it was just this day-to-day thing, which is a long story for another podcast. But the point I'm trying to make is you sort of get into the rhythm of the moment, staying in the moment. So we have the girls and it's chaos and there's two of them.
What week was it when you had the
29? My wife, I think it was 30, 29 or 30.
Yeah, same as Tracy.
Yeah. And so one baby goes this way with 4 or 5 people. The other baby goes this way in the room, 4 or 5 people. And there's probably like 20 minutes of beeping and yelling and organized chaos. And ironically, my sort of sense of calm was the Raiders needed to lose and the Chiefs won. Like, this is so silly.
Wow, okay.
But like in this moment, that was sort of my opportunity to pass the time.
Yeah.
To not get overwhelmed in the moment.
Because there was really nothing you could do.
There was nothing I could do.
Yeah.
And so I just remember sort of with one of the other docs, I was like, hey, I need you to keep me updated on the score. So I'm talking to my wife, obviously, how you doing? How you feeling? She's drugged up. And then we're having this conversation. But the moral of the story was it's this high intense moment. And then you could just feel the calm, right? Like there was this moment where, the masks came down, the shirts kind of came off a little bit. Yeah. And it's like, okay, 10 minutes later, we start going up to the room. And so I go with them, say goodbye to Christina. We go up to the room, get them settled into the NICU, and kind of go through what's next step. And go back down, check on Christina, go back up. So I'm doing this back and forth with the kids. And in that moment, the room right before us, I'm on cloud 9 walking up there with my girls for the very first time to put them in the room. In the room in front of us, there's doctors all around this baby and mom and dad in the hall.
Not good.
And it was profound reminder of where we were, the miracle and preciousness of life. Mm-hmm. So I go in and it just sort of gave a different perspective of the gratitude, of that. And there is so much, I think about it often because there's the, prayers like, oh, we were praying for you. Your baby's a miracle. It's a miracle baby.
Yep.
I come back, I go down to see Christina. I come back up. Now there's more doctors. It's mom and dad. And it looks like what has to be probably their parents. And you can just feel the weight.
Like the darkest moment of their life.
You can feel it.
Yeah.
So I go in, I go back to see Christina. I come back, everyone's gone. I mean, the room's cleaned out, everything. And I just sat in my room in there with the girls, cried and prayed. And it was one of those that moment was something that I'll never forget. It's like all life is a miracle, no matter at what stage, no matter at what point, right? Mm-hmm. And people will often say, oh, your girls are a miracle. We prayed so hard for them. But I guess what I would offer is I don't necessarily know that the prayers were that my kid was going to live or not. It was more so the prayers that no matter what happened, whatever God's will was for that my wife and I had the strength to be able to work through that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it.
And that's the
so
grace.
Much of it's out of our control, whether we're giving the prayers or on the receiving end of them.
Right.
And that's the grace.
But that's what parenting is. And to bring it back full circle, that's what I feel like our friendship is. Oftentimes in our conversation is sort of the helplessness of us, but almost in a way taking control is accepting the fact that I'm not in control. And like that is parenting, right?
Yeah, I think that's right. And you just gotta embrace that.
Right.
And as they get older, and you're going to go through it and you'll get a lot of good advice. You'll get a lot of other advice, but there's so many other external factors that start to amplify or force multiply all those feelings you're having now. And you just got to let it go. You got to let it happen. You got to in our opinion, let your kids make those mistakes.
Right.
We subscribe to the theory of demystifying some things so they can find it out from us, with us in a safe environment, to not have so many taboo sorts of things, so that you run the risk of losing track of where your child's head really is with regard to any one subject matter. So you're basically more in tune with it, but also letting them fall, get bruised, fall on their bike, so they know how to deal with a little bit of adversity. I'm sure we're guilty of doing a little too much for our kids, but I think one of our stated goals is to let them get out, make some mistakes, come back and get a little feedback, so that it wasn't just this over-mothering, over-fathering situation. Then they turn 18 and they're gone and they don't know quite how to deal with it. But there's always certain levels of that. Always could do better at it, but I think we're pretty proud of the way we've raised our kids. And what we hear from other people is what makes you the most proud as a parent, is when you get third-party feedback about your kids. And that's what probably drives us the most, is hearing from some people we trust or that we didn't even know that, hey, George did this or Quincy did that, and it just kind of makes you well up with pride. And that's probably my favorite part about parenting, is seeing what they're doing in the world and how they're affecting other people, and when they're kind enough to share it back with you.
We talk a lot about vulnerability, authenticity, failing.
Yep.
I feel like that's the hardest part of parenting, is sort of in a way allowing your kid to fall down.
It's the worst. I can see it coming.
Right.
Yeah.
But in a way, that's where they get their strength. And it seems that's where that is like the challenge of parenting, is being sort of fun and disciplined, being helpful, but not allowing them to fail. And we talk about this even in the work environment. I think in athletics, a lot of people are just afraid to fail. And if you do fail, then there's this overemphasis to, you failed, we got to get better, rather than, hey, what did we learn from this? How do we improve? Does that make sense?
Totally. I think as my eyes were wandering, Jamie, one of my business partners, gave me a pretty cool little thing that's on my desk that says, "What would you do if you knew you could not fail?" And it's just, one of those great quotes. It's like a pewter version of a Successories poster, but it fits in with all my KU stuff on my desk. But we can learn a lot through failure, and I think we can learn a lot from falling down, and more importantly, about how to get back up.
Yeah.
So, and I'm number 7 of 8 children, and all of my older siblings have had kids, and Tracy's number 4 of 4. And so we've been really lucky about our birth order and having all these great examples of how to raise kids and how they did it, or maybe babysitting or whatever. So we've been really fortunate we just had a lot of help just by our birth order. So
right.
we don't forget that. And hopefully we thank the people ahead of us as much as we can about teaching us how to do some things, whether it be directly or indirectly. And I don't know, you just kind of soak it up when you're one of the younger ones and hopefully use that knowledge.
I think a huge part of you and your story is you are a cancer survivor. 21 years this summer, or 22?
No, this summer will be 28.
What was the Solheim? 25?
25.
Oh, it's already 20. It's been 3 years since it'll be 3 years.
It'll be, this August will be 3 years. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How I think oftentimes that adversity really truly can be a gift. You went through it in college.
I did.
Which is, you don't hear of that. You don't hear of many, 16 to 22-year-olds going through cancer. You hear of younger children.
Yeah.
You hear many older people. It is sort of this unique stage of life. When you reflect back on that and how that sort of made your makeup, how do you unpack that for people?
Well, a couple of things. Unfortunately, it happens to too many people, but every day that goes by, they're finding cures and ways to help people of all ages getting it. I kind of look at it, for me, how I unpack it is, if I was going to find a time to get really sick with cancer, like to stop you dead in your tracks, like a big part of my life, it happened at the best time. I mean, I'm in college. I had the ability to kind of take a time out in life. I mean, imagine being 14 and having to get out of school for a whole year and the impact it would have on you as a kid. Now you're a sophomore with the guys that were freshmen, as an example, and all the social things that happen. When you're in college, there's a variety of ages and things. And the other thing I'm most thankful for is I have my high school friends, which are great. We still communicate quite a bit. But if I would have had that happen to me then, I already had those wonderful bonds, and it would have solidified them. And I've got some cool stories about how those guys and gals helped me through that tough time. But when you're in college, you're trying to find your own way. You don't know quite what this guy's about or what that gal's about. But when something really challenging happens to somebody, you kind of get a new group of friends. And I'm super thankful that it was with people that I was probably going to interact with at different stages of the rest of my life. So I'm thankful for the timing that I had. I could take a year off and it didn't really impact my life. I wasn't working yet. I wasn't in high school. I mean, so besides being like retired, it was probably the best time to get it. But better than getting it when I was retired, I was at an age where they could just drill me with chemotherapy to try and make me better. So I guess that's how I unpack it from a timing standpoint.
Right. Mm-hmm. But what about just dealing with adversity? I mean, most 21, 22-year-olds think they're invincible.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a sense of invincibility up until I feel like for me, it was probably 28, 29, 30, right?
Sure.
But you have this awareness of your vulnerability at an age where others never experienced that. Is that something you understood in the moment, or was it later on in your life that came into perspective?
It's hard to say because I didn't probably even think about it until later in life. So I think I had an appreciation for it. I mean, I think of people who are going through other real diseases like mental illness and other things. It may not be as transparent to the outer world. So I couldn't really hide. So from the authenticity and vulnerability standpoint, part of my sickness was on display for the world. So I kind of had to, in terms of no hair, I weighed I was 6'1", 127 pounds. I mean, that's pretty skinny. I lost a bunch of weight because of all the treatment, lost my hair, my eyebrows. The eyebrows was the weirdest, by the way. I mean, people like shave your head, it's great. You don't really realize the importance of eyebrows from like sweat dripping or sunblock. Kind of a weird tangent, but that's the day I knew I was really sick. I'm like, wow, this is weird. You could have your head shaved, you could be on the swim team.
Right.
But your whole body's hairless. People can tell you're sick. So because of that, I kind of had to deal with, you okay? What's going on? Oh, look at that kid. So I think I had an awareness that that I was vulnerable for sure. I think I was 21 years old and I felt like there wasn't much I couldn't do. I had a great upbringing, great parents, great siblings, a lot of support around me. So the world was teed up for me. So I kind of hadn't had a lot of failures in my life. Not that I was setting the world on fire, but it was a punch in the face that I probably needed. We all get them in life.
Right.
I'm super thankful that it happened to me then to help shape me for what I have a chance to become in the future.
In that same time frame, you've always been a singer.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And some people, I think, know now that you're a singer, know that you were a singer. But in this same time frame, you were in a singing group.
Yeah.
Share that experience, sort of what it was, the opportunities that it presented, because I think it's a great story.
Well, thank you. I don't know how many minutes we've been into the podcast, but 23. So to my friends out there who give me grief about talking about Up with People all the time, just know that it didn't happen until the 23rd minute. Up with People is a international cast of people between the ages of 18 and 25 that would travel around the world doing community service, education, and then putting on a musical show wherever we went. It started in 1964. I traveled in the 25th year, so I was 18, 19 years old, just done with high school, going in between high school and college, basically. And we traveled around Europe and Mexico and the United States, and the world changed that year. The wall came down November 9th of 1989. I'll never forget that day because I was in Dayton, Ohio, and there were people in our cast from Germany. And Frauke Salewski is in our cast, and I'll never forget her telling our group that she feels like she might be able to meet her grandparents for the first time in her life. That's pretty heavy stuff. And all this is happening when I was 18 or 19 years old. So that was what my year was like. And I was a vocalist, which was great. I started singing probably around 7th grade, always enjoyed it, always had good people around me. Maybe had a little bit of talent, certainly a lot less than a lot of people. but I don't know, I'd sing probably of the 22 songs, I would probably sing usually 6 to 7 of the songs. And sometimes our crowds were 800 people at a show in Lebanon, Missouri. And we sang one time for, I think, 75 to 80,000 people in Mexico City. And it was insane. I mean, to come off that high is a hard thing to do, honestly. It was really cool. So that was a year. And then I went to Hawaii to go to the University of Hawaii with a friend from Up With People, and ended up wanting to go back to KU, meet my wife. The first couple of days I'm at the University of Kansas, because I grew up in Kansas in the southwest corner in liberal Kansas.
Heard.
Yeah. What minute?
You've mentioned.
What minute is it now?
25.
So Up With People at 23, liberal at 25. So liberal is my proud hometown. So I went to the University of Kansas, met my now wife, although we didn't date for a few years because it took a little, doing on my part to land that ability to talk to her. But I was in choir at KU, the Glee Club, and those sorts of things. And then now I'll do the occasional wedding and sadly sometimes a funeral. But I enjoy singing, and it's been a pretty cool part of my life. And I'm not going to say unbelievable in the shower, but it's pretty close.
It's where you do your best work.
It's where I do my best work. Yeah. Tracy thinks that mirror in there's for shaving. Come on, man.
Better shower or car?
Car, for sure.
Really?
Yeah, there's motion, movement, other people watching.
Are you a window up or window down singer? Or just whatever
up
you're...
for sure.
Oh, really?
I mean, when it's down, it's almost like you're showing off. You're that dink at karaoke who can actually do it. That kind of ruins the night for people like a try hard. Not that I'm that guy, but I mean, it's just like, come on, dude, roll the window up.
Have you done that on like a family trip? Do your kids pressure you when they were growing up to be like, Dad, do karaoke?
I would say my kids have the most dose-giving ability of reality to me ever. They know all my quirks. They don't want to hear me sing. They do not want to watch me watch Jeopardy, even as recently as last night. Did you see that?
No. Was it the All-Star Day?
Yeah. Wow. I felt like I was watching Dennis Miller, where you're getting like 10% of it, but kind of laughing for 40% of it. They know I love Jeopardy. They know I love to sing, but they don't really want to hear about it. So my kids know. My nieces and nephews, other family members, my mom, hey, sing this, sing that. So you try to indulge them, but yeah.
My dad is a singer, well, as you know.
And a skilled guitarist.
Yeah. My dad is more of a Jimmy Buffett guy, as you know. I mean, he's not going to blow you away vocally. My dad has always said that
he'll blow you away with how many songs he knows and all the lyrics.
That's the key.
Yeah.
If you don't know all the words, you don't know the song. So it doesn't count as one.
Right.
So like 100% is one. 70% of 7 songs is not 7.
Yeah.
And that's been his thing. Like from the beginning. So he knows the words to every sing-along song you'd want to know. He can navigate the chords well enough. And that was a real joy throughout my whole life.
Yeah.
Dad, just get the guitar. Like he was the guy that we would go to Mexico and Cancun on the beach, and the guy walks by with a guitar and he's like, hey, amigo, vente. And he's buying borrowing the guitar for 20 minutes for 20 pesos or whatever. And we'll sit there and sing songs and play. Or we were just in Colombia. I mean, he's the guy on the streets that's
awesome. Yeah,
want to grab the guitar and put his hat on the ground and just play to play.
I wish I had that skill. I mean, the piano or guitar, that would be a cool thing. I don't have it. I've tried a couple of times.
So no instruments.
No. I mean, I can read music, so I can hammer out some things on the piano, but absolutely horrible guitar.
Have you tried? I would assume.
Tried and failed.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. I must not have tried hard enough.
I always think.
How about you?
I always think of the quote of my dad. I think it's like Homer Simpson. Basically, what is it? If you fail, moral of the story. Something like if you failed, moral of the story, never try.
Yeah. Sounds like Homer.
Yeah. I can play guitar. I can go GCD. I know chords well enough. This is sort of a weird insight. When I first started playing, my first guitar was a cream Flying V. And my instinct when I started was to play like Jimi Hendrix, play upside down.
Yeah.
That's what always felt really comfortable to me.
How old were you when you had that realization? Because most kids don't know who Jimi
7?
Hendrix is.
I was like 7.
Hats off to Ron.
Yeah. I was probably like 7, 8, 9. I mean, I was early. And
Are You Experienced was your favorite album for show and tell in first grade?
Right.
Who are these parents?
Ironically, here's another fun fact. Okay, let me ask you first. What was your first, well, you was probably albums?
Well, my first record I ever purchased was Blondie, Heart of Glass, but from Chrysalis Records on a 45 that I rode my bike to Alco, Duckwall store to buy. I remember it like it was yesterday. My first album was Styx, Grand Illusion, and it wasn't even mine. My brother Ty ended up getting 2 of them because he and my brother Tom were a year apart, and I kind of got one of those albums, and that was such a, I'm hearing the songs in my head now, but Styx was my first album. The first record I bought was Blondie, Heart of Glass, for whatever reason. That must have been 1981 or 1982. Do you got a fact checker here? Is that no? I'm going to go with 1982. I'm going to feel like Heart of Glass was in the top 10 in 1982. I'm going with that.
All right. Mine
What was yours?
Black Crowes.
Nice.
And I would have been cassette tapes.
Sure.
Right around the Walkman days.
Yep.
So I got like a yellow Walkman.
Yeah, you had the Walkman, the little waterproof one with the flip over gray thing.
Yeah. I got
such a
Black Crowes.
Such a grub move.
Black Crowes, Mariah Carey, and then I paid an older kid to buy me
explicit lyrics?
Yes. Digital Underground Sex Packets.
Was Humpty Dance on that one?
Yes.
Probably a top 8 song.
Right.
Yeah.
So I thought it was cool that I had a cassette that said Sex Packets. I like hid it under my bed.
Sure.
But I listened to that Black Crowes. I bet I to this day still know probably every word on that entire album. And then I was watching Howard Stern, and he had those guys on here pretty recently.
How was that? Those guys probably have a crazy story to tell.
Telling stories about like touring and opening for Rolling Stones back in the day.
Yeah.
They had some great, Bob Dylan, basically he told this story. Check this out on YouTube on Howard Stern. They told a story where I'm pretty sure Bob Dylan and the Rolling Stones got in a fight on stage.
Wow.
And I think Bob Dylan just like stormed out and they're just standing there. They're 19-year-old kids just like,
we don't understand you.
Yeah.
Speak English, Bob.
Yeah.
Hey, what did you get over there?
Yeah. So,
I'm
but
sure
yeah,
it was just a communication error.
those are the first 2. What were we talking about before I went off on that?
You're asking me about my singing.
Nah, but in between.
What was my first album?
Yeah, there was something I felt like I'd ask you before that.
I'm sorry if I...
No.
Yeah. I like your shirt, by the way.
Oh, thanks. Patriot. I did not wear this on purpose. I was debating between which one of the 47 quarter zips I was going to wear.
Yeah.
You're a blue plaid guy, right? Or stripe guy. Are you a blue stripe guy?
I am a blue guy in general.
Got it.
In fact, Christmas this year, Tracy got me everything but blue, and it's like a stated goal for my family to get me away from the blue thing. So,
is there a pattern of blue, or it's just blue?
From a golf shirt standpoint, I don't know how many white and blue vertically striped golf shirts I have. To the outside world, they all look the same, but
they're very different.
They might all be Johnny O, navy blue and white stripes. One of them might have a Patreon on it. One of them might have Des Moines Golf. One of them might have Echo. They're clearly different.
Very different.
Yeah.
This is very much dad
It's my
stuff.
go-to.
Yeah. I'm that way. I'm a quarter zip guy.
Yep.
And my wife gets so mad because it is blue, black,
gray.
Thanks for coming.
You're not afraid to throw a little light green in. That's in your wheelhouse.
I did. I went with some green.
Yep.
I like olive.
Yep.
I'll go with some. I had some pants that I thought were olive, but I think they're gray. I'm always like, those are gray. I think they're definitely olive, but. So but yeah, the Patriot, that we need to refire that up.
We do.
Dan Rooney starts Folds of Honor.
Yes.
So if you've ever seen the folded flag, seen a Budweiser commercial for the golf fans, who won the U.S. Open? Sorry.
Gary Woodland.
Had it on his bag.
Yep.
Did you say that broke the site? Like
yeah,
after the U.S. Open, it broke the site?
No, I think maybe the story you're thinking of is Dan Rooney, Kansas grad, college roommate, fraternity brother. We're in each other's weddings. He's probably the most responsible for Tracy and I being together because he set up this, what I thought was a date and what Tracy didn't know was a date, sort of set up on a bowling night for another podcast. But Dan was on the KU golf team and along with my wife, Tracy. And so he then becomes an F-16 fighter pilot and a member of the PGA of America. And he was on a flight, and there was a family who had a fallen soldier on board, Brock Buckland, and his twin brother was in the first class bringing his brother's remains home. And as the story goes, Dan witnessed his family, on their toughest night ever, like you were mentioning about the hospital room. And he's looking at a little kid, which was the fallen soldier's son. And he's like, who's going to pay for that kid's college? Like, I'm going to pay for that kid's college. And he called his wife, Jackie, and said, I don't know how we're going to do this, but we're going to pay for that kid's college. So they had a golf tournament at Grand Haven, Michigan, and raised money, $16,000 for his college tuition to drop in the bucket. And he just had a greater calling. And
real quick, in context,
yep,
that's sort of a go-to thing, right? We're going to have think of your local community fundraiser. We're going to have just a little golf outing.
Yes.
Get together.
Yep.
That's how it started.
And
all right. So pick it up.
No,
from there,
thank you. So the world, the spiritual world, God, whatever you choose to believe in, is talking to us all the time. I think it takes a special person to listen, and it takes an extraordinary person to act upon it. And that's what it's cool when you're proud and consider your friends a hero. And we all have people we look up to, but when it's one of your friends that you had from before that just blows you away with what they've done, that's Dan to me. So he acted on the calling, did more than the golf tournament, and $280 million in scholarships later, 13 years later, the Folds of Honor Foundation is what it is. So how it relates to the breaking the website and the Patriot is at the 2007 PGA Championship in Tulsa at Southern Hills, there was a special interest deal on Dan and his story in the first year of Folds of Honor, which was actually just called Patriot Golf Day at the time. We didn't even have we didn't even have a 501c3 set up or anything yet. When I say we, it's Dan and his crew, but he asked a few friends to sort of help out, make a bunch of calls to courses and so forth. So we were all in helping Dan achieve his dream. But again, it's all him and his vision. But when I say we, you all feel like you're part of the mission. But he flies David Faraday up in the F-16. They do this special interest thing, and the website that we had that they put on that they were kind enough to show during on air absolutely broke the website. When I say broke, I mean it was just getting drilled with content. This is in 2007. So since that time, it's become a full-on organization. And the Patriot that you're wearing the logo from is the golf course that's at the home of the Folds of Honor Foundation. So it's God and country without apology, and to celebrate the legacy, of education that education can bring to the people who are still left behind when they lost their loved one or was injured.
One thing, don't want to run out of time, and make sure I mentioned that I birdied the last 3 holes at the Patriot.
Yes.
Was it 3 or 4 holes? I think I missed a birdie putt, and then I birdied 16, 17, 18.
Your best birdie look was the one you didn't birdie, and then you birdied 16, 17, 18. Yeah, because you got home in 2 on 15.
Yeah.
Remember the dog leg left.
It's gorgeous. I mean, it's built into sort of these foothills of Tulsa, and the clubhouse is up on the hill. You're playing in at 1,300 hours. What happens?
So the significance of 13, to a lot of people, 13 is a bad luck number. To Dan, it's not. There's 13 folds in the flag. When you see the flag that's presented to a family member when they're burying someone, or when you see folded flags on display, 1,300 is 1 o'clock, 1 p.m. So at 1,300 hours every day at the Patriot, everything stops, and they play taps course wide, and then they toll the bell 13 times. And it's an inconvenient 90 seconds for those people. All the workers, everything stops. Bus boys walk outside and put their hand over their heart and just stand there. It's the coolest thing. And it's just a nice reminder that somewhere right then, someone is fighting for your freedom. And if this is inconvenient for you to stop your country club golf round or to stop your, BLT, then good. Dan wanted it to purposefully be an interruption in your day so that you could have the appreciation for what other people are doing out there, or for those who have gone before us. So it's a really cool thing right in the middle of the golf day.
You had told me about it. I thought, okay, that'll be cool. And then when you're in it,
was it better? It's more significant.
It's just one of those moments where you feel the magnitude of the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, it's powerful, so unique, really special. Gary Woodland, fast forwarding on 13, Gary Woodland had the Folds of Honor on his bag, fellow KU guy.
Yep.
He's going to win his first major, U.S. Open, Pebble Beach. And again, these guys sell these ads on the bags for millions of dollars, and he's promoting Folds of Honor
for free.
Tell the story on 18.
For 18 at Pebble Beach?
Yeah. So he makes that 40-foot bomb.
Yeah, it's escaping me now, but I remember almost just tearing up myself because I don't even think he had to make it to win.
No. It was a totally unnecessary 45-foot bomb, but he makes it, and it makes him 13 under for the tournament.
Oh, that's right. How could I forget? Unbelievable. And that's the
That's why I'm here.
Thank you. You're very good at what you do.
Thank you.
So that's the synchronicity that Dan Rooney talks about, is all these things happening. And honestly, that's a synchronicity moment. All these things happening. And again, I think you just have to choose to listen. Attitude of gratitude. Like if you kind of walk through life trying to be gracious and be nice to people around you, I think good things can happen. And the synchronicity component can really force multiply your outcomes in life. And that's how I've tried to live my life. And it's been really, really fun. But stuff like that is so cool to watch. And I think it probably happens to most of us in smaller ways. But we just need to be open to it, listen to it, and have it, turn into some positive steps for you so you can have a chance of having one of those magical 40-footers at some point.
Right. When I told you the idea I wanted to do this, I don't know that I understood what it was or what it was going to be. I told you that this really became about documenting my friendships and thoughts for my kids and my grandkids. So in 30 seconds, what advice would you have in life for my kids, grandkids?
Oh, that's a big question. I would say the advice for your kids and grandkids would be respectful to your elders. It doesn't always make sense, but I think there's always something we can learn from those people before us. I think be super thankful for what you have, because there are always people who have a lot less, and there's certainly people who have more, but be respectful with the gifts that you've been given. And I would just say, if you can, this is a dumb kind of thing, but if there's a grocery cart in the middle of a Hy-Vee parking lot, be the person that takes it in to the store. Don't let it hit somebody else's car, have that 1 in 100 chance be that it hits somebody, because somebody's going to be that one person. So at the end of a movie, take your trash to the thing. It's not the person's job wearing the little maroon jacket to pick up your trash. It's our job to pick up our trash and do the extra thing. And I think the world will unfold for you if you're a good steward that way. Because I think the best way we can all think globally, and this is a cliche, but is to act locally. If we all took care of our own stuff, I firmly believe that the world would be a better place instead of waiting around for someone else to do it. I would tell your kids, be that other person that does it, because you have the capacity and you have the ability. So do more. That's what I would say.
I appreciate you coming on, Troy. I love you, man.
Happy to be here. Love you too.
Yeah. Thanks, bud.
You're welcome.